Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Disney some more. We're going to talk about the animation industry. We're going to talk about Moana 2 making all kinds of money, not getting very good reviews. And then we're going to talk about the state of the animation industry and how, and this is just speculation on my part, I think the financial success of Moana 2 could actually be bad news for the LA animation industry because of where the movie was made.
Yeah. But they have a new agreement, don't they? The new contract.
Tentative. But some of the animation industry people are saying it's a crap agreement. I don't know if I want to sign this because they're letting them get away with a lot with AI.
Yeah, the AI is a big reason not to sign it. Anyway, before we get into any further.
Yeah, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. You get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Go out to clownfish-.com. Check out the Reef. You can join our Plus Club, which is actually a minus club, but you actually do get more stuff. Check that out as well as
we offer special videos and things.
Yeah, go to our locals. We can do clownfishtv.locals.com, same content. And also on clownfish-.com, we have lots of merchandise, and we appreciate the support, guys. We got some signed items out there. Not many left, though.
No, bubbly sleeves are gone. Just a few pins.
All right.
Anyway, back to this. Okay, so I did an article today about the box office because their Wednesday was really, really good. Their Wednesday opened to over 57. It was like $57.5 million domestically and over $66 million globally. And at the first day, like first Wednesday, there was only like 10 markets it was in. Since then, on Thursday, in the US, it did another 28 million. It opened to several markets on Thursday, and on Friday, today, it's going to open to several more, including China. So they're definitely expecting it to go over, 100 million internationally. And they're thinking it's going to do like 175 million. Yeah, I think they're saying 175 million. They're estimating, here at least.
Oh my gosh.
175 million of the 5-day weekend. Now, I don't know if that's just domestic or if that
I think it's domestic. Because they said, it's going to blow past Frozen 2. I knew it was going to be big because you guys were actually going to go see it. You went to get tickets and there were hardly any seats left.
Yes, we didn't
2 weeks
go
ahead
due
of
to
time.
an issue. We couldn't go. We had to cancel, but there's a reason. But we didn't go, and I'm kind of low-key kind of thinking maybe it's a good thing we didn't go because I'm hearing that it's not that good, but we'll see.
Yeah, so it did $28 million just on Thanksgiving.
Just on Thanksgiving, yes.
And Frozen 2 did $15 million 5 years ago. And Frozen 2 wasn't that good. But, whatever. It made lots of money. At the end of the day, like, these studios don't really care if the movies are good or bad. They just care about them making money, and they have a better chance of making money if they're good. But this one Moana 2 was actually supposed to be a series on Disney Plus. And then at the last minute, they decided to repurpose it as a movie, and they went and they got the original voice actors back. And they did kind of a patch job on it. And
that's what people are saying.
Yeah,
they're
it feels
saying
like
that it. You could tell it was meant to be a show, and they repurposed it, and that the music isn't anywhere near as good as the original, but the animation still looks okay. Yeah,
actually, it's a good looking movie. I would say the animation in a lot of ways looks better than the original, but it was very weird. They had other voice actors, and they had to call The Rock back and the girl that played Moana back.
This whole thing, what this came from, it was a Hail Mary pass for Bob Iger because they announced like February 7th, and it was back when the proxy battle started, and they were putting out those hit piece videos and all that stuff with Nelson Peltz against Nelson Peltz. And he was trying desperately to keep his board there. So that's when they announced, Moana is like the top streaming movie. So we're going to do Moana 2. And then there was like, Taylor Swift, and we made a deal with Fortnite. Hey there, fellow kids.
Yeah.
So they had from February to November to take a show and finish it, redo it, throw it together, put new voices in it, make new songs, all this other stuff. And it shows, apparently.
Yeah, people say that feels like a direct-to-DVD, like the old direct-to-DVD movies. Now, here's the thing with that little bit of a history there. Toy Story 2 was originally supposed to be a direct-to-DVD, and a lot of people consider that the best of the Toy Story movies. And then they said
but it was always
so
meant to be a movie, though. This was meant to be a show. People say that it takes too long to even get to the point because it was meant to be like episodic. It wasn't meant to be a movie.
Yeah, like Maui shows up at the very end or something.
Yeah, it's like when you write like webcomics, for example. Webcomics is very different than writing novels because webcomics you have to leave every page on like a cliffhanger type situation so people come back. Novels, you can, just write it straight through because people are going to read the entire novel. It's kind of like that. And so when you put webcomics into a book form, which we've done,
yeah,
you can tell the difference between a webcomic that was in a book form and a novel meant to be as a book form. They're not saying that it's terrible, but it's definitely doesn't come across the same.
Pacing is different.
The pacing's different. Yeah. You have to remember that you're pacing it as a webcomic, not as a book. And it's kind of like that. You're pacing it for a show, not a film, and they repurposed it, but it doesn't necessarily work according to audiences and critics, allegedly, because there's Rotten Tomatoes has the movie at like 66% or 60, what do I have it as?
65.
65%. And then audiences have it at like 87% last I checked.
Yeah, that's not great. But again, that's one of those things where I don't know how it's going to work out long term, but people were going to go see it because they're like, oh my God, Moana 2. Now they're already filming live action Moana. Like, how much Moana do we need?
I know, and people are saying it's not necessary. But here, I didn't list them as fresh or rotten. I'm just going to read these. Some of these, you're going to read these and think that's fresh. Some of these are considered fresh reviews. Here are just some of the reviews from the critics. Everything about the clammy continuation sings cynical passion. I'd be less aggravated if this film were more than mediocre. While the animation is often stunning, the overall result is a throwback to those inferior direct-to-video sequels Disney used to turn out to like Lion King and Aladdin.
That's true. Actually, the Lion King, I will give a pass to one direct-to-video sequel that I actually liked, that I actually thought was pretty close to the original, and that would be Lion King 2. I actually thought Lion King 2 was pretty good. But
Moana 2 is the return to form for the style of animation Disney is known for, but its story and songs failed to venture beyond shallow waters. I kept wishing for a better balance between story and action. Also, it takes much too long to reunite Maui with Moana, so this is not top-level Disney, but if Moana gets a bit lost in this chapter, we'll wait for her to find her way. Moana 2 is more of an action movie with a few accidental musical numbers of varying quality. These are all, some of these are fresh and some of these are rotten.
Oh, this one, though.
Moana 2 seems like more a consumer product in some subtle way, unmistakable way, than the first film did.
The first one actually felt like a legit movie. It had some heart, and it had good music, and it really was kind of sort of experimental, I think, for Disney, the way they went with it. But that's the thing. A lot of the new Disney stuff feels like product.
The overall sentiment seems to be something like sequel 101. You love the first movie, so here's a second movie that's a lot like the first movie. This is the good news if that's what you're after. If not, well, it's 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Oh,
and that's
geez.
Rolling Stone. The songs aren't the problem. Rather, it's the muddled story which takes way too long to give Moana her mission. Moana's musical numbers were the greatest strength. Moana 2's musical numbers are its biggest weakness.
I kind of wonder when they said that they weren't getting Lin-Manuel Miranda back. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's not a good sign, because that was really like one of the selling points, just like Frozen. Like, you take the music out of Frozen and it's a very meh movie, but it had good music, and that's why people remember it as the musical numbers.
Yeah, because that sticks out. People still singing,
Let It
It
Go.
that was Frozen, but yeah. Well, some of the elements still managed to get a laugh here. The world we were introduced to 8 years ago doesn't feel richer or more exciting. And again, some of these reviews were I had several fresh and among those, as well as rotten, and you can't tell the difference. These are some of the people. Underwhelming, songs are bad, basically the same movie as the original. A good sequel, but not great. Delivers a strange message by getting lost that can be easily misinterpreted to the younger audience. Well, we know what that means. Still great visuals, especially in 3D, and even more so in 4DX. Keep it moving without any lag or boredom. It's a fun ride with some bumps in the road. Dislike the songs weren't catchy. It wasn't culturally connected to the first part. It wasn't emotional. The animation was nice. Storyline was good.
That's what I basically heard. It's like, because it looked good. I was actually surprised when they said that this one was supposed to be a Disney Plus show, because usually there's a marked difference between animation for theatrical and animation for TV, right? And I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, wow, it actually looks, the animation looks good.
Now, you said, the animation, it says the animation looks good, but the rest of it's it. So here's what you said, Cartoon Brew said. It said, where critics are labeled boring and confusing.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this, because this is very important. You get down to, let's see here, third paragraph. Well, they're talking about where it was made. Okay. Keep this in mind, because after we talk about some more criticism, we'll talk about why this is a big deal. It was made in Vancouver. Disney basically sent a bunch of people to Canada and built a studio in Vancouver without most of the people in LA knowing about it. And they kind of did this one under the radar. That's why we didn't hear anything about it. that they were doing a Moana series.
I think there was news that they were doing a series, but we hadn't heard anything else. So I think people thought
under the radar.
I just think people thought, oh, they must have got rid of it, because you heard about, they mentioned it before a couple times, but they never heard it again. And I think people thought, oh, well, they just must have canceled it because you haven't heard anything else. And then it's like, oh no, we're pulling this out of our butt and making it a movie.
Yeah, it was. And again, this was a Hail Mary pass because Nelson Peltz was looking at Bob Iger like, what are you guys doing to make money? And here's the thing, it worked. I mean, regardless of the quality of the movie, it obviously worked. It's making boatloads of money. I don't know if it's going to last because people might, get a whiff of it and be like, yeah, this isn't. I don't want to pay to see this in a theater. I'll wait for Disney Plus or whatever. But here's some more of the reviews. This is coming from the Globe and Mail. They said the big disappointment here is that the musical numbers are flat, and they bide time between the adventures and fail to sink Maui's hook in us. The original had Lin-Manuel Miranda. And those songs. I don't know how to say that person's name. It's Samoan singer, mess it up, but I'm going to mess up their name, so I don't want to ruin their name. Also had Shiny, which I thought didn't really fit with the Shiny.
So Vulture says the film lacked attention of a significant issue. I heard this before. I said you don't really see the bad guys so much. What's a girl got to do to get some good old-fashioned conflict around here? This is something of a recent Disney animation issue. After a long, fraught history of villains that were more exciting, more colorful, and invariably more queer-coded than the heroes, the entertainment giant has in recent years banked away from having a clear-cut bad guys at all, opting instead for its characters to face down systemic problems.
Oh, God.
Their own insecurities.
Or
misunderstood adversaries, sorry.
This whole trend started... actually, the last villain I think was in Tangled because we had the stepmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had, Gothel, but for some reason, Frozen was based on the Snow Queen. Elsa should have been a raging icy bitch, and no, she's just my misunderstood sister.
Pretty much.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, they're talking about this. We already mentioned this. This was kind of part of one of the ones I read already. LA Weekly felt sickened by everything happening on screen. The new Moana is so confusing it makes you seasick, or just sick of the characters. Like most Disney sequels, a bunch of new characters are on board to distract you from the fact that you're watching a similar voyage. They certainly distract you from our heroine, who is the beating heart of the franchise, yet is surrounded by obnoxious caricatures who have only one trait, whether that be grumpy or nerd, and they aren't people you want to be stuck on a boat with, but you are. Like it or probably not, the film is another example of Disney treading water. So, it goes on and on. People are not, the critics are not, I'm hearing audiences. I was on a thread and people were talking about it. One person's like, oh, it's amazing. And people were like, no, it wasn't. The songs were terrible and it wasn't that good.
Yeah, but they're going to go see it because more Moana.
Yeah, right? More Moana.
And
and I think I'll be interested to see how it does after this weekend because, initially it's going to do really well for the 5-day week. Because you remember, too, we were talking a 5-day week, not a weekend.
Right.
So the totals are going to be significantly higher, but it wasn't just a weekend. But I kind of want to see what it does in the next week or two to see if it drops off as people start hearing that it wasn't that good.
Yeah. So, and again, you can only do that once, and then people will be like, oh, I'm not going to trust you when you have Frozen 3 and Toy Story 5. And you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because Frozen 2, I mean, it was, I okay-ish, I guess, but again, they make a lot of money and they know what their tentpole franchises are. But let's talk about okay, so this movie was a show and it was made in Canada. Right now, there are ongoing negotiations with the Animation Guild and AMPTP, and I'm kind of hesitant to talk about the animation industry at all because there are some crazy ass psychos that are. But anyway, every time we talk about the animation industry, we get all these people. They're defending the guild, defending the unions, come out of the woodwork, and they start like, oh my God,
scream on, don't care,
scream on. Yeah. So anyway. They're negotiating right now. There's a tentative 3-year agreement. Now, Moana 2 doing as well as it did could throw a wrench into the long-term viability of the LA animation scene because we already saw before these negotiations were taking place that studios were cutting back on the animation. They were spending less on animation. They were outsourcing animation. And now we have a huge moneymaker for Disney being done in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many of those people are unionized. I've heard two sides of it. I guess there is an animation guild up there, but a lot of the studios don't use them. So I don't know if that, but whatever. It's probably a lot cheaper to do it up there than it is in LA, which is why they sent them up there. And Disney's testing the waters. Can we do animated movies someplace else, or shows someplace else? And they've done it before. They had a Disney Toon, which I think was in Australia, and that did a lot of the direct to DVD movies. But that was one of the first things Iger did, was he shut the direct to DVD sequels down. Now he's just releasing the direct to DVD sequels theatrically
as a movie. Yes.
Yeah, it's like you're the same thing.
How that goes, but anyway.
So here's the tentative agreement. Now, what's interesting is, again, this comes from Cartoon Brew. A lot of people who are in the animation industry read Cartoon Brew. The comments are not good. The comments said, yeah, they're sidestepping the AI, which is a huge issue for a lot of people, and it doesn't seem like it's really that good of a deal. But I think they're probably, if I had to guess, they're probably just going to take it, because I think at this point it's like either take it or they're going to step over you, right?
Yeah. So here's what the Animation Guild has said. That was the gains they made. They said they got increases to health and pension funds with no cuts to healthcare benefits or added cost to members. Because that's a good one. Wage increases 7% in the first year, 4% in the second year, and 3.5% in the third. Okay, so you got more money. AI protections that include notification and consultation provisions.
Yes, they're not saying they're not going to use it. They're saying we will let you know if we're using it, and we'll ask you if you're okay with us using it, basically.
So they're going to have improvements in the new media side letter, protections for remote work, new bereavement leave and additional sick days, recognition of Juneteenth as a holiday. Okay. It's craft-specific gains, including a framework for staffing minimums for writers and storyboard artists, because there aren't enough of those. Scream on, honey, scream on.
She'll make like 5 more videos. I know, she'll make more 5, and it's like, and then when I saw it, she was like a storyboard artist, I was like, yeah, that's exactly why. So the biggest issue for people beyond the pay was actually AI.
Yes.
And this person said, sounds like they gave in on AI. If so, that should be a deal breaker and a reason to vote no. So people still have to vote on it. I mean, this is a tentative agreement. The union hasn't voted on it yet, but I'm going to remind you of what happened with the WGA and SAG-AFTRA, that they got what they wanted, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And then Hollywood said, oh, yeah, okay, so everybody costs a lot more. Okay, cool. We're just going to send more overseas. We're going to,
Yeah, and they said here about, let's see how the studios inevitably break these AI rules.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what they did to the other people from last year. They started, inserting AI stuff into it, and it doesn't matter if you have the agreement; they're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, actually, with SAG-AFTRA, and what disgusted a lot of people that are very much against AI is almost immediately, like within, oh my God, it was weeks of striking a deal, they were already setting up deals to sell actors' voices. Mm-hmm. And I know there were some voice actors that are like, hey, we did not realize this language was in what the hell are you doing? And so I think what these deals do, I'm going to be honest, is I think they just buy time. I think you're buying time. It's only 3 years. That gives AI enough time to catch up.
No staffing minimums for artists. That doesn't bode well with both generative AI and overseas studios coming for LA animator jobs.
So,
shocker.
She is correct, or he is correct, or they are correct. So this is kind of like what happened with the WGA too, where that was they wanted a minimum guarantee of writers in the writer's room. And it's like, well, with ChatGPT, we don't need as many writers, do we? We just train an assistant, and we just have the showrunner bang out most of the scripts with 1 or 2 writers that they choose. So yeah, exactly. What AI is going to do is I do not believe AI is going to completely replace creatives ever. I think what is going to happen is you can have one person do the job of 10 people with the help of assistants.
Well, it's kind of like using Photoshop or something like that. It's just, it used to have a lot of people who have to do all this work, and now you can use like way fewer people to do the same amount of work.
I got into newspapers and graphic design in a transitionary phase, I guess. It was between the end of manual paste up and the beginning of everything going digital. And there were entire companies that were wiped from existence. They used to do a lot of like pre-press work and pre-production work and shoot the film and all that and none of that was necessary anymore. Just think of all the speaking of Photoshop, all the Photoshops we used to have, all the film developing businesses that used to be around. They're no longer necessary.
It happens all the time. We keep seeing it at malls and stores. Sears was around for how many years? Well, we don't need them anymore. Yeah. It's sad, but unfortunately, it goes with the times. And I mean, I don't think it's right either. I think it sucks just like you do, but it is what it is. And I make no mistake. I think if Moana does really well, they're just going to be like, oh yeah, well we can just send more jobs out of LA.
That's exactly
we
what's
don't need
to
keep them there. We can get more done that way, especially if people are difficult. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong to ask for more. I'm just saying that they're going to look at it as difficult, and they're going to do that, and they're going to use AI. They're going to use AI to replace more people. Bob Iger's already said they're going all in. They just made a whole new department just to coordinate AI usage.
Yeah.
They're going to do it whether you like it or not.
So the people that are left will make more money. I think what's going to eventually happen is we're going to have more like creative showrunner, I guess project managers, / and you're going to have a handful of people that are paid better, but they're going to be doing so much more because they're going to have assistance with AI. But you're not going to have, in-betweeners and even storyboard artists to some degree. I think what will happen is the director,
you don't have to say storyboard artist. They get mad. She gets triggered.
The director showrunner will be like, okay, well, here's the script. And eventually we'll have the technology where it's like, just, could you generate me storyboards and give me 10 different options for each scene. And I'll just go through and pick out the ones that are the closest to what I want to do. And you don't need the storyboard artist anymore. And that's what's going to happen. And I don't think it's necessarily, it's a bad thing for the grunts, the people that are on the lower end of the ladder, the lower rung, but I think there is a lot of opportunity there for people that are truly creative that want to have more control over everything going on. But the downsizing of animation, this was going on way before they had their chats, to extend the contract, and it's inevitable. I think their 3-year contracts. Look at where AI was 3 years ago compared to where it is now.
Yeah, where's it going to be like a year from now?
Yeah, it's giving them time. Basically, what they're doing, the studios, what they're doing, they're already replacing you. They're replacing a lot of people, but they need to buy time. They can't get rid of everybody yet, but 3 years, yeah, it gives them enough time. 3, 6 years, whatever. Within a decade, I think a lot of these jobs are going to be gone, unfortunately. But individuals can make a lot more of themselves.
Well, that's just it. That's what we keep saying. It's like, just pivot. That's apparently the devil. You had this put up too.
Yeah, just and this has been going around for like a year now. A guy in the animation industry talking about why the industry is collapsing, and we're seeing so many what you're not hearing. You're hearing about like, oh yeah, we're getting our union chats underway. We're all going to get more and blah 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 blah. That doesn't mean the studios are greenlighting more shows. Doesn't mean they're greenlighting more movies.
But does it say basically what we said?
Pretty much.
Read it, and I'm like, oh, but we were so wrong. We don't know what we're talking about.
But it's just like it was already bad, and now. I think what's going to happen eventually, and we're going to have a lot more animated content, but a lot of that animated content is going to use AI, at least in part.
Wait, the animation industry is a downward spiral because it's not the end though. You can go do your own thing.
I know, right?
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. It's going down because stream bubble burst. Oh, if only somebody had said that. The layoffs are coming. The outsourcing is getting bad, and then AI and stuff like that. Mergers and acquisitions because they're buying things and shutting down others, and generative AI. Pretty much all the damn stuff we've been saying, but we're wrong, and everybody, but somehow everybody else that works in the industry is supposed to be right, but we're supposed to be wrong. Whatever.
Mulligan identifies 2 silver linings that give hope for the future. He identifies the rise of indie animation studios and their ability to create content that connects with fans in ways that polished, committee-driven studio content can't always achieve. And one of the artists who work in the industry explains that the best weapon industry workers have at the moment is the Guild's upcoming contract negotiations.
Yeah, well, that didn't work.
Good. He says the final chance we're going to get to keep these kinds of jobs. I think the problem is we have people that are doers, that are entrepreneurial creatives, and then we have people
we said.
Yeah, and then we just have people that want a job.
That's just it. And you're going to survive if you're entrepreneurial. And then they said the third reason is hopeful is the animation experiencing unprecedented global growth, which is true. We've mentioned this before. It's booming in other countries.
And we
should be welcoming them to our community, but they don't want to welcome them to their community. They want the job, and they're not going to have the job because they're going to have it in the other community or the people in other countries, which we said. But we're so wrong, and we don't know anything.
That's fine.
Kiss my buns.
That's fine. When you lose your job, when it gets outsourced, when you get replaced with a robot, don't come crying to us, I guess.
We tried to give you a heads up.
We tried to give you a warning. Instead, you should be planning on what to do next. Just assume just assume at some point in the next 3 to 10 years, you're no longer going to have a job in the animation industry, the mainstream animation industry, and prepare accordingly.
Well, yeah, doesn't mean you can't go do something else, or you can't start your own thing, which is what we've been telling you.
Yeah.
But keep screaming. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
We're going to wrap this up, guys. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.